Let me share my screen. Yeah, I hope my screen is visible.
Yes,
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 yes.
Vinay, we can say it.
Yes. Hello everyone, welcome. Let's quickly get started. Okay. Before we begin, let me quickly introduce ourselves. I am Rishikesh. I'm automation developer at Accelerate, and along with me today I have Vineet. He's UiPath MVP, and he also works at Accelerate. Vineet has hands-on experience on implementing and deploying Maestro solutions. So today, throughout this session, we'll be sharing some practical guidance and some real-world implementation rather than just focusing on product features. Okay, so let's start with a simple question. So, how many times have we built something that worked perfectly in development, and after we have encountered multiple errors after the deployment? So that usually happens. That because building a process is only a part of journey, and once the solution goes live, then those questions starts appearing to us. That how do we deploy it correctly? How do we monitor it after deployment? Again, if we have failures, how do we recover from it? And how do we also manage to make those changes and get the new versions uploaded? So, and about scale and support, it is a never-ending topic. So we are going to face this. And these are the topics that determine whether a solution is truly enterprise ready. As Darshan has already mentioned, that in the first two sessions, we have already focused on building. And today we are going to focus on what happened after the build phase. Let's talk about production readiness and best practices. Okay. So let's get started with one of the most important principle, which is really needed for maintaining and governance. It is one business process, one solution. So on the left, we have a common pattern that many teams unintentionally create. So we create agents, we create workflows, action app, different config files, and everything is maintained separately. Initially, if a project is small, then it seems like that this is doable, like we can make things happen. But problems start arriving when we need to make changes to this. Let's say, for example, we have an agent and a new business rule come up, and we have to update that agent to support this new business rule. But the corresponding workflow that we had, it is still running on the older version. The action app that we have, it is still it is expecting a new input, but our Maestro flow is still on the older version. So this kind of explains the version mismatch scenario, and it become really difficult to track and support. So from UiPath Maestro perspective, this create unnecessary deployment complexity. Every release that we have, we need to validate every single component individually, and also we have to ensure that everything is compatible with the other version. So this coordination sometimes become hectic. That's why the recommended approach that we have, it is on the right side. So in Maestro, we can create a single Maestro solution that contains everything that we required. Let's say we need to build agent, RPA flows, action apps, everything we can build inside the Maestro itself. So when everything lives inside the same solution, this complexity and the versioning error, everything just goes away. We can version it together, we can test it together, even we can deploy and support it together. That's the real benefit. So that one is the single deployment unit. We don't have to deploy five separate things. We just need to deploy one single solution. Secondly, lifecycle management will become so easy. So when we have any business change that we talked about, a rule change, so we just need to update it. Once it is updated, we move it to dev UAT prod as a single package. No need to check if our robot is working well, the agent is working well, then the Maestro. No, it's just one publish and we are good with it. And finally, support, it becomes too simple. When any issue occurs in production, support team know exactly where to look because all the related components, they are on the same screen. It is part of a single solution. So that's what will benefit if we create everything as a single project. Anyone has any question? Okay. Okay. Let's move to the second part. So we talked about how we are building a single solution. Now let's talk about the source of truth. So we have named it a single source of truth, considering the four layers which are necessarily needed for any project that we have. So generally, the problem with this is duplication. So if we are initially building first few automation, then duplication isn't a really big problem. But as the number of agent workflows, it keep on increasing, and if we keep creating separate indexes, separate config files, then over time it is really difficult to maintain, and it will lead to inconsistent behavior. So that's why the goal is to avoid multiple versions of truth and instead focus on a centralized system, may it be the knowledge, data, configuration, or credentials. So we have centralized it as four key components. Firstly is knowledge, which is our context. So we'll be using a single index for any agentic solution. All the agents which are participating in a business process should consume the same knowledge from a centralized index. Let's take an example. If let's say we are working on a mortgage or a loan application, and we have three different agents. Let's say we have a document agent, we have a validation agent, and we have a decision agent. So if we give different indexing, different index, then they have all of them have different knowledge source, which can lead to uh, what we say hallucination or inconsistent behavior, right? So instead of thinking it like I'll create a validation index for first agent, decision index for second, document index for the third one. So initially, it may feel like it is organized, but once you introduce it, it will be duplicate knowledge source, and maintaining it will be really difficult. So we should ensure that all our agents in a single process should be operating from a single knowledge base and produce consistent outcomes. Then let's talk about data. Data modeling is really important for all the process, and instead of creating we talked about three agents, so instead of creating three different entities for three agents, we should focus on the reusable enterprise entities. In our loan application, we can create as like borrower, property, loan decision, right? So these entities can be consumed by all the participants in our Maestro workflow, may it be agent, RPA workflow, Maestro flows. So this single data model and across the process, this will help us eliminate any duplicate data structures. Next two are what we usually do, keeping in mind that we don't have any hard coded value. Everything like the queue names, SharePoint URL, timeout, environment setting, everything is inside our config file, and it will greatly be useful in terms of maintenance. Let's say if we need to move our code from dev to prod, then we won't need any code change for it. It is everything maintained in a config file and we are good. Lastly, credentials. Make sure that we don't have our credentials stored anywhere in our workflows or agent prompts or any documentation which the agent is accessing, right? Making sure everything is an orchestrator asset. This is for the security compliance. Yeah, so when these principles are followed, agent, workflow, action app, and business users all are operating using the same sort of source of truth, and the result is more predictable. Like agents will be consistent, and our solutions will be working great. Even the support will be easier. Okay. Let's talk about agent design best practices since we are talking about Maestro. So whenever we start adopting AI, there is a temptation that we add agent everywhere, right? Everything should be done by agent. But instead of asking, can an agent do this? Uh, we should ask, does this problem really require intelligence, right? Because not every decision is an intelligent decision. So we have two good examples for this. Let's say we have our first example. Let's say if we have to route the loan application, right, based on loan amount, and if the amount is above 50,000, send it to the manager. Otherwise, we'll continue processing it. That's a decision. It's not an intelligent decision. We can simply use rule for this, or we can use the Maestro gates for this, right? So this doesn't really require an agent. So instead of putting it inside any agent, or we can use Maestro activities for this. And we have a second case. Let's say if we receive an email, customer email saying he has been charged twice and he need help immediately, right? So what should happen next? Is this a billing issue? Is this a complaint? Is this some kind of escalation? The answer isn't very clear to us that what should happen next. This is where the system has to understand the language, intent, context, right? So these are the cases where we should use agent and agent add value. So we have a few examples. Let's say if we need understanding, if we need to classify any emails, if we need to summarize documents, or even make recommendations. In those cases, we'll go ahead with agents. Otherwise, the task where we can use rules, it can be written in any if statement or static rules, or even Maestro. We'll be using a decision table or business rule for it instead of an agent. Because adding an agent to this scenario will just add cost and complexity, nothing else. I hope that was clear. Any questions, guys? Okay, okay. Let's talk about when not to use an RPA workflow. So, as UiPath developers, our natural tendency is to solve everything with just another workflow, right? We have spent.
Yes, am I audible?
Yes, yes, Ravindra.
Actually, I have a question related to the first slide where you talks about the indexing. So you talk
Mm-hmm.
about that we should go with the single indexing even though we are using the multiple agents.
Right.
So, but thing is that as we know in our process,
Mm-hmm.
agents have a different, perspective to work upon. So in that case also, do you think single indexing work or any logic behind that we need to follow, or is there any exception that we need to follow with a different indexing as well?
Okay. So recently we tried this. So let's say if we have single indexing, it will help us in cases where all our agent need same kind of knowledge and all the decisions are based on that knowledge. If it is like if you have agents for different use cases, going ahead with multiple index is the best approach. But let's say if your agents are sharing data in between and they need to know the context, then the single index approach is the better way. And you
Okay.
can always upload multiple documents in an index and query it according to the agent need.
I think I got your point that essentially if agents communicating with each other, then definitely we should go with the single indexing. Otherwise, we can plan it accordingly.
Yes, yes,
Yeah. Thank you for unfolding then. Thank you once again.
great. Mm, okay, yes, we were on were not to use RPA. So we have native Maestro capabilities, and this capabilities are really helpful. We don't need RPA everywhere. So let's say if you need to process, if you need any kind of process routing, you need to make sure that your process follows a certain way. Then there is no need to put in multiple if else or bringing in RPA there. We have our BPMN gateways, right? If we have conditional logic, we can use BPMN, or for business decision, we can use DMN. We have business rules. Similarly, for file management, we can go ahead with storage buckets instead of creating workflow that read some Excel, then get data, and then work on it. We can always go ahead with data stored in our storage bucket, or even in that case, we can use data fabric, right? So these capabilities, they're already built into the Maestro platform, and we don't really need to use RPA everywhere. I'm not saying that we need to replace RPA by certain things. That's not the case. RPA is still the best choice when we need to interact with any kind of application. If there is Citrix environment or there are application that does not provide APIs, right? So in that case, robots are still the best and they'll add value. But just in case, if there are Maestro capabilities already there, we should make sure we use them. Um, okay. Let's talk about the environment strategy. So till now, we talked about how we are or architecturing our solution, how it should be in a single flow. We talked about how the data should be accessed, right? The external data or files, config files, whatever is required for our Maestro to run. Then we talked about how to design an agent, where do we use agent capabilities, where not. We talked about the Maestro capabilities, uh, which should be used instead of the RPA flows. Now let's talk about some environment strategies, right? So whenever we build any project, a common mistake that a team makes is treating our development, testing, and production as a single environment, right? This usually works for smaller projects, but as the project grows and we talk about scaling, it really becomes difficult. So we recommend that you maintain separate tenants. We have a dev tenant, a UAT tenant, and a prod tenant. Dev is where we build, we test, we iterate on our solution, we make improvements, right? And once that part is complete, we should promote it to UAT, where our business users will validate the process. They'll check it, overall functionality and everything. After it is approved, only after that successful validation, we should move that solution to production, where the business operates and monitors it, right? And along with this environment strategy, we should also make sure that our asset, APIs, triggers, storage location, and integration, they are uniform everywhere, and we should validate it. So the UAT part is basically that validation. If it goes well there, we are almost sure it will work well in prod. Mm, Yeah, so overall, we have this checklist, which is for production readiness. And if your solution checks every of this checkbox, then it will be ready. Yeah. So a single solution, our environment separation strategy, dev UAT and prod. Naming convention will follow. We'll be having a demo following this, and we'll look on the naming standards there. Uh, Centralized config, no hard-coded values. We already talked about it. Robot account and runtime dependency should be validated. Yeah, this is one part where you need to check. Then retry and recovery. This also we'll see in the demo. And lastly, we have testing part. So since you have individual components, make sure you test your agent, you test your workflows individually as well before testing the entire workflow. Therein, if there are any errors, you'll get to know it firsthand. So yeah, this is what production readiness is all about. And before we start with publishing and everything, we should know a few things. First is rules and permissions. So you don't need the package create permission or the automation publisher rule. So if you have any of this, you'll be able to publish your solution. Secondly, if you publish your solution to orchestrated personal workspace, then it is automatically deployed to your orchestrator and you can immediately start running it. Now there is an update in Maestro wherein we get an option to publish as well as deploy. We'll see that in demo as well. And lastly, if there are any agenting process that requires UiPath robot, you should make sure that robot account is available and configured. If you are sure of three things, then you are all set to publish. Okay, I think let's start with the demo. We'll hand over to Vineet.
Yeah, thank you, Ashigesh. Before we go ahead and start with the live demonstration, anyone has any questions till this point? Are we good? I'm sharing my screen. Do let me know if my screen is visible to you.
Yes.
Is it up?
Yes.
Okay. So as we have talked about the production readiness, and we already have the checklist. So in the checklist, the first, sorry guys, the I'm sorry. Okay. So the first pointer that we have in the checklist, that is the we need to follow a single solution rule. So whatever the components that we are going to build, so this is one of the use case that I have. So in this one, we have multiple BPMN, multiple agents, multiple RPA workflows, indexes, processes, queues, storage bucket has been utilized. So what we have done is like we have kept everything under one solution. So UiPath has this recent feature called the unified solution. So in under that one, it is recommended you need to keep everything under one umbrella. So whatever you are going to publish within your orchestrator, so you have to keep it under the single solution. Like you can keep like the BPMN, then you can keep the agents that you have built, RPA workflows, everything. So this will helps to manage your solution whenever you are going to publish within the orchestrator. So you'll have a centralized access how it is going to be managed once you deploy. So if let's consider if you have a changes within the production and you want to have that um, managed once you have deployed it. So in that scenario, it will be easier for you to go and check the versioning within the orchestrator, and you will be able to identify on which current version you are currently and what updates you have done. So the those will be easily trackable. So that is the one thing. Then we have talked about utilizing the naming convention. So on the screen you can see like we have this code as COE 3334. That is a project that we are given, and that has been utilized across all those agents, RPA workflows, or the apps that we are going to create for a particular process. So that will be utilizing under that project code only. So uh, after everything you have like these are the two pointers that Rishikesh mentioned right in the checklist. Then the environment ready. So once you have those naming conventions, everything naming convention followed, then the all agents, then BPM and process RPA workflows under one solution, processes, indexes, everything under the solution. Then you can proceed further dev environment, UAT environment, and the prod environment. So whatever environments that we have, once you have solution is there and it is ready to publish, so in that scenario you can go ahead and publish the particular solution. So then you'll be able to manage the solution within different tenants or different environments. So what I'll do is I'll go to the studio web and we'll create one single Maestro BPMN. So from there like we'll be able to um, follow the steps that we require to publish a particular solution within an orchestrator. So I'll give a name as server community Maestro demo, and you can follow the naming convention for each solution that you are going to build. So I'll rename this one as well. This is the BPMN. So in the Maestro BPMN itself, you can see like we have multiple options. Like you can add agent, RPA workflows, API workflows, apps, function, Maestro case escalation app. So based on your requirement, you can add those within a single solution only. So instead of building components outside this particular Maestro BPMN, you can have everything built it over here within a single Maestro BPMN. And from here, based on your use case, you can publish it to the orchestrator and then you can leverage. So what I'll do, I have one simple prompt which I'll utilize to build one Maestro BPMN, which will generate a happy path and the exception path for me. So we'll have an idea like what are the things that we need to take care. So now BPMN has started utilizing the autopilot. So I have given a simple prompt to just give me a task with a simple invoice process. And if invoice is successful, then in that scenario, like you can go for log invoice process successfully and end the process. Otherwise, if there is an error occurred during processing an invoice, then in that scenario, like you have to throw an exception and get it manually reviewed by human in the loop, and then log that particular exception and end the process. So based on my prompt, Autopilot has generated Maestro BPMN. So what I'll do, I'll go and simply accept. So this is how the simple Maestro BPMN flow looks like this. So this is the service task that I have. So here in this one, like you can add action. So in the action, in the first and the second session, Darshan and Gagan has already covered like what are the different connectors or the different events that you can use, or how you can leverage the agents within the Maestro BPM, and how you can use the workflows or tools, queues, everything, right? So for this one, like what I'll do, I'll simply keep as it is. I'll not add any other applications or any tools. So we'll start first debugging the solution. So currently I don't have anything. So whatever the task that we have, based on that, it is going to navigate in the happy path only, as I have not configured anything as of now. So so based on the uh, execution trail, you can see like we have this Maestro BPM and started executing. It went to process invoice. This will act as a process. This is the service task. So here you can invoke the agents, RPA workflows, human in the loop. So based on your condition that you can do. Then you have like once the happy path has been executed, then it went and logged that invoice process successfully, and it has executed successfully. So in case of error, what will happen is we have this error boundary event added to this particular service task. So if error occurred, so in that scenario, this error boundary event will handle your exception, and it will route your path to exception path. Like whatever the things that you need to handle after exception occurred. Suppose you want to send an email, so that you can configure it over here. So for now, like after error occurred, then it has configured as manual review required. So it is going to send for a manual review within Action Center. So from there, user can configure and validate, and based on that your process will get flowed. So as of now, any questions?
Hi, Vinit.
Yes, hi Saurabh.
Yeah, I have a question. So, like you said, the RPA workflow, those things we can add it, right? So, that
Mhm.
is in the sense studio or the RPA, that UiPath web, that the
So
work.
it's depend on you, like where you have built the RPA workflows.
Okay, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Like we can
So
add from both.
yes. So what you need to have is like if you want to add any action or as an RPA workflow. So make sure you're going to publish that particular RPA workflow and it is available within Orchestrator. If you are going with the Studio desktop, so in that scenario, you need to make sure you have to publish that particular RPA workflow to Orchestrator and it is available. And in case if you are going to utilize the Studio Web for building your RPA workflows, so in that scenario, just you have to click on add to solution, and from here only you can click and add RPA workflow.
Okay,
So
got it.
yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. So now I have added over here.
Hi, Vinit. I have one
Yes,
question.
yes.
Yeah, I can see in the Maestro as an
Mhm.
action center, I can only use the action task. Can I use UiPath apps for filling one of I have one of the form and that needs
Okay.
to be filled. Can I call that form over here in the Maestro?
So you want to access that particular form. So have you built that form within UiPath apps using an actions or just a simple app
Just
that
a
you have built?
simple app. Simple app.
So to access that particular form within a Maestro, you need to make sure like it should be built as an action. So in that case only it will be accessible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I need to send it to an external person who
Mm-hmm.
won't be in the orchestrator users. So in
Uh-huh.
that case, how can I? Action Center
So
won't be working, right? If
no. So
yeah.
you have to build it using the actions only. So you have to convert your app to actions. Like you have to there is an option within the UiPath apps, use actions. So after you have done that settings, then your normal app will be converted to action app. So then in that scenario, you will be able to use.
But Action App cannot be accessible to outside people, right? Only apps can be accessible.
Like you want like with from the action app, you can send a user that particular action, and that will be available within action, like
Okay.
the action center that we have. So
Okay.
from there, user can interact with that particular app. And if you're saying about UiPath apps, like the global apps that we have, right? The public apps. So if you're going to keep that public app and your user which are available within that organization want to access that app directly, so in that scenario, like you can go for the public app. But if you are trying to send an action, suppose you have a particular case where particular action needs to be validated by some of the users, so in that scenario you can go for the actions. And if you have a general purpose like the filling out the form and getting the information from the employees, so in that scenario, like go for the public app.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, any other question, please?
Vinit, you mean like creating an app like form and then converting it to the action app? Is it that mean?
So in the escalation, like in the UiPath apps itself, like there's an in the containers, like you have the options to add actions. So after that,
Okay.
like yeah, then it will be converted.
Oh,
Like we can connect after the session, like, and I'll tell you like where you can get that done.
sure, sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Vinit, I have one question.
Yes.
Uh, for example, you create this master process, which
Mm-hmm.
start once invoice is available. For example,
Mm-hmm.
invoice going to available on particular shared drive, maybe a
Mm-hmm.
Google
Mm-hmm.
Drive or OneDrive, wherever. So
Yes.
once and it's a triggering point to
Mm-hmm.
execute this master process. So once
Yes.
file is available, it will pick it and go with the process like running RB process, connect with agent, or if any
Mm-hmm.
happy
Mm-hmm.
path is going fine, then it will do the
Yep.
needful. Otherwise, it will erase the human in the loop kind of
Yes.
actions.
Mm-hmm.
My question is that on the drive, if there's a multiple files will come,
Mm-hmm.
then this master process will run. How it will run? I mean to say, do we need to do any multi-bot something, or the same process multiple instances will run on the productions?
Yeah. So in that scenario, like you have built the Maestro process and you have set of files coming on the drive. So in that scenario, like you can have the trigger setup, like you can have the different triggers as a event triggers like that are already in place, right? So suppose you can build a integration connection of the Google or the Outlook. Whenever your file is getting dumped in a certain folder, so your Maestro instance will get triggered. So there is no need to create a multiple instance like a multiple flows or the multi-bot architecture for the process. So this will be like you know about the queues, right? Like we have
Yes.
already
Yes.
utilized within the RE framework, like the transaction approach it will follow. So whatever, suppose you have 10 incoming files for a particular day. So in that scenario, 10 instances of that particular Maestro will be created in the production, and those are going to process independently. So I'll show
Okay,
you
you want
that.
to say if in my queue 10 transaction items there, then
Yes, yes,
10
correct,
independent instance will create of Maestro and they will run
correct,
parallelly, or it depends.
correct. Yeah,
Okay.
depend upon the machines allocations that you have, and whatever the infra that you have. Based on that, it is going to run. So on
Okay.
the screen, you can see. So this is the after we deploy the solution. So this will be the instance management, and so we're going to come here. Like I'm going to navigate you and tell you. So this is the instance management. So here on the below tab, you can see like there are three instances created. So the three instances will be created for the three different transactions that we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
But does it feasible for the process where huge volume come in the queues, like 100 200 queues will come? So in that case, I don't think that 100 instances going to create for the Maestro. Definitely, I think some sequence
Yes.
mechanism that need to follow, so that we can give the some kind of arrangement over there. It will not exploit all the resources for run the single resource for the multiple
Yeah,
transactions.
like it is going like based on your requirement, like you have to anyhow modify your solution. Like if you are 100 transactions to process for a day, so in that scenario, like you can proceed in the batches, so that you can have like that particular logic you can keep it in place and build your logic within the Maestro VPN instead.
No, no, that I agree. But I think
Mm-hmm.
let me explore in some time. I think I
Yeah,
should not
yeah,
interject much time here. Please carry on.
yeah,
And thank you so much for taking my question.
yeah. Okay. Okay. So I was explaining about that. Sorry, I have missed that part. So I'll continue from like we have this on the left hand side, like we have this Maestro BPMN, and now I have created the RPO workflow as well. So now, so likewise, like you can create different action apps, RPO workflows, API workflows. You can have the agents as well, so that you are going to utilize within your Maestro process. So once everything is in place, then and you have done the unit testing, everything is tested. So after that, like you can deploy the particular Maestro BPMN, or you can publish. So this is the latest feature which has been released by UiPath. So now you have publish as well as the deploy. So if you are going to publish um, the particular solution, so in that case, like it will be available within your uh, orchestrator as a package. Then you have to configure the values, then activate the solution. And if you are going to publish within your personal workspace, then it will be immediately activated. And then you have the deploy. So if you go with the deploy, then in that scenario, like your solution will be directly available for you um, uh, within the orchestrator and certain folders that you where you are going to deploy a particular solution. So first we'll go with the publish option. So now considering every parameter has been checked, and after that, like we are going to publish this process. So for me, that is the personal workspace that you have, and the shared one is like the shared folder that we have. You can have the release notes added, and just click on publish. So now publish is in progress. Okay, now my solution package has been created. I can click on check package. So now I have this Maestro demo available. So on the right hand side, you can see I have the option to deploy. Like the first option, I'm getting it as a. So this is the package that I have available. Just now I have published it, and it is available as a package within the solutions tab under the packages, under the tenant, right? And if you want to deploy this particular package, so you have to click on this rocket icon, or you can click this one, and you have the bigger window available. So from there as well, like you can click on deploy. Once you click on deploy, currently I don't have any assets, queues or anything that I can configure. So I'm just going to click on deploy. So right now in the solution, I don't have anything to configure, like the assets or the queue names or the other subs, like the process name that I have to map. So I don't get any validations or the configuration values over here. I'll simply get deployment, like the deployment successful or the whatever resources that I have. It has been provisioned and configured the runtime, and it is activated now. And I can close this one. Again, I'll go back to the deployments, and now you can see I have the status of my deployment as an active. So in the shared folder, we have deployed, we have published the solution, and now after deployment, it is coming under the shared one. So if you go to the particular folder and within the automations, we will be able to see all those RPA workflows agents which are there. So that will be available over here, and it will be available as a process. So if you want to trigger your BPMN, you can directly start from here. You can add event triggers or whatever based on your particular use case that you are going to utilize. You can have it, and you can start a job. Before starting a job, you can click on more actions, and you can click on edit. So you can check for runtimes, and if there are any processes which are there for your Maestro, so that you can check it over here. So for example, I'm going to showcase you. So this is the one of the production ready process that I have showed you in the beginning of the session, right? So this particular process has different agents, different processes, different connections. So you have to map everything. Like you need to make sure those are mapped. You have to check it before you run. So those process has been utilized within a Maestro BPMN, and before you run, you need to make sure this particular process is mapped, and the status of those particular process agents should be available. It should not be the missing one. If it is missing, so in that scenario, you'll get an option over here. Then you can overwrite and you can add a particular process which is need to be mapped over here, right? And if you want to run a particular process, suppose you have a desktop process and you want to run it on a specific machine. So in that scenario, like you have to select a particular runtime, then like in which machine you are running, it should be it might be the unattended one, like whatever the configuration you required for a particular process to run. So in that scenario, like you can have it and you can update for individual process. So in that scenario, what will happen is, so a specific process will go and run it on the specific machine, because there will be a multiple machine allocations will be there for a particular folder where you have deployed your process, right? So in that scenario, to do not mess up with the running of the processes which you have within your Maestro BPMN solution. So you can configure all those processes before you run the process. So once everything is mapped, so in that case, like you can go and start a job. This one is the Maestro BPMN job that you are going to create. You can click on start from the processes with from the orchestrator, or you can start your BPMN job from the Maestro instance as well. So on the right hand side, once I have triggered the particular process, it has created a job. And on the job, you can see on the extreme right, we have this link available, open in Maestro. If you click on this one, then it is going to navigate to particular instance which has been created just now from the orchestrator. Um, a second. See, so this was the instance which has been created, right? So so we have this UC underscore Maestro BPM, and this was the process, like the Maestro BPM process, and it has created as a job, and we have navigated from this job to an instance. So this is the instance management where we'll be able to see all the instances which has been triggered, right? So this was the happy part taken by this Maestro demo, and it has navigated to process invoice, logged invoice process successfully, and ended the process successfully, right? And in case of failure, so in that scenario, like you can have it configured uh, like a error boundary event or whatever the business logic that you are going to implement, so that you can have it. And I have shown you the one way of triggering the Maestro BPM from the orchestrator, and the second way is like you can click on run within the instance. If I go back, we have this product called Maestro, right? Then in the Maestro instances, you can search like the here we have all those BPMNs that we have published, right? So we have this UC Maestro BPMN. You can click on this one, and you can click on run. So the new notification has been popped up, like the instance successfully queued for execution. If you refresh, so see, so we have the second instance has been created. So based on your transactions, there will be multiple instances created, and those will be available here in the execution. And in case of failure, um, there might be a chance like your instance has been triggered and there is an exception occurred, and you need a modification within your existing BPMN that you have built within the studio web, within the solution. So in that scenario, like you can have the your solution updated. You can publish the solution with the updates that you have made, and you can change the version whatever you have. So after you have changed the version and you have the instance with the error, so in that scenario, whatever the instance that you will have, so here you will get an option to update the version of the entire Maestro BPMN with the latest changes, and you can run it on that particular instance only with the changes that you have made. So this is the instance management where we'll have the um, orchestration of the BPMNs. So on the like this is the instance management tab that we have. Then we have the monitoring tab. So here in the monitoring tab, you'll be able to see the incidents over time, completed instance, all the metrics which we used to see within the UiPath insights. So those will be available over here. And on the first tab, for first container, we have this heat map generated. So whatever the transactions that you have and that you are going to process within the Maestro instance, so like if you are going like if you want to optimize and you want to analyze a particular process, if a certain block is taking a large time to execute, or particular agent has some bottlenecking, so in that scenario, like you can have this monitoring tab and the optimize tab. So in the monitoring tab, you will have this heat map generated and all the matrices. And in the optimize tab, you will be having currently I don't have like we did only 2 runs, so that's why we don't have any data available over here. I'll show you for the different one. So see, so so this particular data that you can pass it to the process mining, and you can get the process analyze where bottlenecking is happening, everything regarding to your process that you can have into consideration for the optimization, so that you can take it to the process mining, and you can optimize your process. So this is the instance process instances are there, incident management is there. So from here, from the UiPath Maestro product itself, like you can monitor your BPM of the Maestro BPMN, and this is how you publish. One more thing before I wrap. because we are short of time. I want to explain what are different exception handling scenario that we have within the Maestro itself. So currently, if you are going to if you are going with the RP workflows or the agent, so in that scenario, there might be a chance like you are not handle any like unseen exceptions. So in that scenario, like you can have the error handling for particular task that you are going to use. Like that might be the service task, agent task. So in the error handling, you have this conditional throw and the error retry policy. So in the conditional flow, like you can write a condition like it's of the system exception or the error directly, like whatever the process that you are going to build, there will be an out argument coming from each RPA workflow or the agents that will be coming, and that you can directly pass within the condition as a error argument, and based on that, like you can configure a condition and you can handle that exception. Then we have this error retry policy where you can give the max retry for that particular task that you are going to utilize. It might be RPA workflow agents or whatever. Like you can give the initial delay, how many times, like for how long you want to wait. Then we have this retry on errors, like or on all errors you want to retry or you want to configure it for the specific errors. So in that scenario, like you can make a use of this retry error policy. So this is all I have within the demo, like those you can uh, utilize. And Rishikesh has already covered about the checklist before you publish Maestro uh, to an orchestrator and make a use of it, right? Uh, that's all I have. Thank you guys. Over to you, Darshan now. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
So Vinny, I just have a question. So basically, for to use the configuration for, in this Maestro process, so you are creating a process. In that process, you are reading the config file and utilizing the arguments, right?
Yeah.
That's how.
So
Okay.
yeah, there might be a different aspects like how you are going to utilize the config file. Like one way is to keep it over the shared drive and create a you can create a RPA workflows so that you can invoke and utilize at the beginning of the Maestro BPN itself, right? Or you can keep all those your assets, like you can have the storage bucket created and from there like entity created, from there you can make a use of assets directly within your Maestro VPN. That is another way. And
Okay. So another way is to directly read the
yeah,
assets in this
yeah,
Maestro.
yes.
Okay. Okay. I have one more question. That is, so whenever we are publishing the Maestro process as a solution, so
Mm-hmm.
if we need to update the process, so suppose we have some changes, and
Mm-hmm.
after that we have again tried to deploy. So what is that process for that?
So the
Because it's
similar way,
many
similar
time I'm
way.
getting errors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, similar way, like you can go like once you have your solution updated, so in the like whatever the first the steps that you have followed for the publish, right? So similar steps you need to follow, but there is a chance like once you have that solution available within the solutions manager, right? So there in that configuration you'll get some error like um, the common error that we have is with the storage bucket and the indexes, like this particular index is already linked to the particular folder, so you have to use the existing one. So that is a common error like you have, but you have to override that particular index or the storage bucket that you are going to utilize within your solution, because it is already present within that folder where you publish your solution.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that you have created the whole process and the app is not showing in in the folder?
App not found.
Yes,
uh,
so I'm
bring
unable
it.
to add in the process actually.
So you have built your app.
Yeah, Maestro process.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, and then I have published it in a solution.
mm-hmm,
Then in the folder, in the solution folder,
mm-hmm.
in the process section, I'm not getting the apps.
So where you have built the action app, within the solution
It's
or within UiPath
yeah
apps?
within the solution. Yeah, within the solution.
Okay, within
I
the
faced this
solution you
flow.
already
So
have.
yeah,
Uh,
so do you have any idea on this? Why this not showing in that?
let's connect after this one, like, and we can sort it out.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Darshan, I think we are good.
Yeah, we have one more question in the chat. How to
Uh-huh.
handle exceptions? Did you answer
Yeah,
that?
yeah, that we have covered uh, at the last.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I believe there are no questions available. So in case if anyone has any questions, we have already added the LinkedIn links for all of the members. You can feel free to ping them and sort out your doubts. And thank you everyone for attending this impactful series on Maestro, where we learn how to build the process, how we can publish that process, deploy that process, and manage entire life cycle of that process. So thank you everyone.
thank you for the wonderful session.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank
Saurabh.
you, guys.
Thank you, guys.